All right, I'm gonna mute myself if I have any more hat coughs.
You waited till I hit record. Good job. Welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, a show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we love. You guys know my co-host Andrew Seitz, and you guys know Tawny Fritz. She's been on, I think it's your third or fourth time now.
I want to say fourth.
I think
Guess who's back? Back again.
But we got you on because we're talking about your second Kickstarter. No, technically it's your third Kickstarter, right?
This is actually, I did like a one for a sketchbook years ago, and then like a print run one. So I think this is my
that print run one. Yeah, we both did the Make 100, which was It wasn't good. Who was that? Was that your kid?
No, it was Moose.
Was he fully clothed at least? I missed it.
Yeah, he was just pulling the door closed.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we did the Make 100 because everyone's like, this is it. This is what's going to make us all this money. And I'm like, you can only sell 100.
You know, I was always
what I did
100, but yeah, that kind of scale always kind of put me off a little bit about it, and also the fact that it always is in January always seems
that's kind of. I think they do that so that people will do a Kickstarter in January because nobody does Kickstarters in January.
No, why would
but you don't have to only make 100. You just have to have one tier that you only do 100 of. So for mine, it was like only 100 signed copies.
Oh, that's actually kind of smart, at least to get around that.
I think I did 100 prints, period. And I remember,
that was because you could do like 100 limited edition ones that are numbered and everything, and then have like open edition ones that are like a different size or something. Maybe that's new. I don't remember what it was like before, but I remember seeing that and being like, okay, cool. So I don't have to only make 100 coloring books. I just have to have some kind of way that there's a limited
one of those tiers had to be 100, right? That's good to know for if I ever do that again. It's really hard to run a Kickstarter in the middle of January because people don't really want to, because they're coming up for holidays. Yeah, it's right after the holidays. They won't spend the money, so.
Yeah. So before we get into the
we have to do our. I didn't tell Tawny about this. I totally spaced.
Okay, well, if Tawny's got so we've been doing.
Yeah, you explained it to her.
Okay, so at the start of the show, we've been doing a thing where we kind of go over like something cool we've read or watched, or something that you've enjoyed. Something that
we've discovered. It could be a book, a movie, a drink, a food. Anything.
Even something you discovered, just something you were like, "This is really awesome. I enjoyed this past week."
If you'd have told me about this, I would have got my everything bagel hot sauce that I got from Heatonist / the Basement Yard.
Oh, you can go get it.
Moose just got it in today. No, it's okay.
Sorry, everything bagel.
I keep.
You gotta you have to explain that.
So Heatonist is they make hot sauces, and they make a lot of hot sauces for hot ones on YouTube. I know we've talked about that.
Yeah, we've talked about hot ones.
So they're who you order like a lot of those hot sauces from if you like hot ones, which I do. And I also like the Basement Yard, which is a couple of ridiculous dudes from New York doing a podcast about God knows what.
They're hilarious.
And, yeah. Joe Santagato and his studios or whatever worked with Heatonist to come up with an everything bagel hot sauce. And they're from New York, so it's like if they say it's good as an everyday bagel situation, and I can say it tastes really good. It's hot too. So I just got that in today, and that's really yummy.
So when you say everything bagel hot sauce, like, are we talking? It's a hot sauce that also tastes like poppy seeds and sesame seeds and like
tastes like an everything bagel.
And it's spicy.
I want to dip fries in it. Yeah, and it's spicy. I want to put it on fries.
Is that is the everything bagel part like a front end taste, or is it like the back taste of it? Like when you have your
no, it's a front end taste. The heat comes after.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when you have hot sauce like that, it's a good sign. I hate it. Like
when
you bite into it, and you're like, this is just pure fire.
Yeah, it's just hot. Well, that's what I love about Heatonist hot sauces too. Like Moose also got one this time that was like a smoky chipotle, and it is like the best tasting hot sauce I've ever had. Like their hot sauces are really good, like really good. So I recommend anything from Heatonist. We've gotten like their green salsas and stuff like that before, and they've always been really good. So
when it gets closer to the holidays, I may hit you up again about this because my wife loves hot sauces.
Yeah, that's what I did when we got our first order. I surprised Moose with it. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know, but I got one of their, like, classics or something, like, packs, and, we tried all of them, they're so good, and there's one, like, I forget which one it is, The Last Dab or something, too hot. Like,
I
it's
think that's the
good.
last one they have on the show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
people always
good, but
die
it
on
is
that one.
I can't eat it. I can't. It's too hot for me, but it's good. The thing is too, like, their flavors are even if it's too hot for me, I can still appreciate, like, this tastes good, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I'm
sacrifice
still
flavor
here.
for heat.
Flavor for
Yeah.
heat. Yeah,
Bye, Alan, he's just
I'm
leaving.
still here.
See you later.
I've had
I'm trying to decide what I should show you guys on the show, and I'm looking at two things that maybe I can show, but I myself forget we do this part, and you just pretty much did it without being prepared. So, like, I forget. I am the one who told Andrew about this, and I forget about it every show right now. So
gotta have that.
I mean, I got a room full of stuff. I just gotta look around.
For the computer and everything. Do you want me to go next then?
Hey, Alan, look, I hung up a print that I got from you years and years ago.
Is that the one with the head or without the head?
He got a head.
Oh, he's got a head? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's probably the one that came with the book.
Yeah.
Gold foil? Yeah. There it is.
Yep, it's got the foil.
So I was looking at if you guys seen this is the new Gundam series, The Witch from Mars.
Witch from Mercury?
Mercury, yeah. Which is really hard to find, by the way. My friend was able to find it for me. Not the model, the show. Apparently it's only on like Crunchyroll or something. Unless you have connections.
Crunchyroll
I was gonna talk about this, but Gundams are fine, they're cool. What I will talk about
I have a question. What grade
go for it. What grade is this one? This one is HG.
Okay. So the 144 scale.
Yeah, the 144 scale. I didn't. Where did I find this?
I've been curious about the 144 real grade ones, but I've heard they are very delicate with their parts.
The real grade ones are delicate. I've got a bigger one. I picked up the Iron Blood Orphans one when I was at the Barbatos at C2E2. It's huge, and I'm probably not going to start it until winter. Like, I can't start it in the middle of show season because
I mainly collect the master grade, the 100.
Oh my god, you're spending money on those, man.
No, that's like the way I see it is like they're roughly about the same price as like a video game. Like they're like $60.
Yeah, the Barbatos cost me about $50.
There is at some point I would love to get a perfect grade of God. I don't even know if they make it of a Zaku, but if they make it of a Zaku, that would be the one I would want.
I mean, what we're gonna do is I told you, man, we gotta go to Japan, and I'm gonna have one suitcase with the stuff I'm traveling with, and one suitcase that's just empty, and I'm just gonna.
I told you about the Gundam store that there. It's
I know. I'm going to spend a lot of money there. I feel like I'm going to have to ship stuff back from there. They got everything.
Have you ever seen a build-up video or anything of like a perfect grade Gundam?
Yeah, there's a guy I watch on YouTube. Of course, I can't remember his name now.
They are engineering marvels. Like, not only do they have like working pistons and everything, but there's even things like somehow Bandai created an injection mold piece that's injected mold into another injection mold piece.
Sure.
So it's like a ball and socket piece, but it's like it was just one thing. It wasn't assembled or anything. It was
it came molded like that.
Which is
no. I've never spent that much money. I always want to get a perfect grade.
Stare at it, and you're just like, I don't know how you physically did this. Like,
well, I sent you that video, right? I had posted a video in our group about the Gundam factory, and you see the different molds that they have. And I remember once I went to Reaper, and I saw the rubber molds that they use to make the pewter D&D sculpts and stuff. They don't look. You think it would look like the mold, right? Like if it was like a wizard, you think it would look like a little wizard casting a spell or whatever. They just look like random like cuts into the rubber, because when you pour it, it looks like the mold. But the Gundam is the same thing, and they have like specific model parts.
Gundam is all done on like a giant sprue and everything. Are Reapers done in like parts? Like they're not like
no, it's one mold. Right? It's one like rubber mold. Like it looks like a. It looks almost like a oil filter.
I got you sidetracked with Gundam. You said you were sharing something else, right?
Oh, that's fine. I can share it or I can save it. But what I was gonna share was this. I found this company called Yo-Yo Ink. So this is totally random. It's about ink, but it's printer ink. I was spending. This is for my Canon printer. These guys make cheaper inks. Like I was spending like $100 for all 5 colors plus the big boy, the black one to put in the printer. So this came with all 5 colors, and I think I only spent like $40, and it works perfectly well for that. So that's this is as boring. This is not as fun. This is boring, but it's good information for you to save money. This one's going into my Canon PG1.
Oh, okay.
But this company, if you look them up they're on Amazon. I'm sure they make cartridges for your printers. So there you go. I talk about 2 things instead of 1 thing.
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I'll check that out.
I discovered them from a mutual friend of ours. Andrew Thompson had it at his house one day, and I was just like, oh,
nice.
Canon inks are expensive, man.
Yeah, same with Epson.
I mean, if anyone owns an Epson, you guys are probably printing. Like a lot of our friends own Epsons to print prints for shows, and that adds up quickly, right? So.
Yeah, my Epson, I haven't printed on that thing in like 6 years because it ran out of cyan, and it won't let me print without it, even though I only need to print things black and white. And there's a black cartridge, so I don't know why it needs cyan. Well,
this Canon wouldn't let me print when there's 2 black cartridges, the thin one that it uses to mix colors, I guess, and the big one. And the big one ran out, and it doesn't say, "Oh, here's another black one I can use." It just won't let you print. I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah, I hate it. That is such.
At work, we still have it. It's just not used anymore. But we have a Canon Prograph printer, the wide format that Donato has and stuff. We used to
those you have to print on, or they dry out, right?
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So we used to print it out a lot because when I first started working there, all our presentations were printed out and stuff. And eventually someone got the bright idea to be like, why are we spending all this money bookbinding and shit? Like, why don't we just do digital presentations? They don't even care, the client, half the time. So we stopped doing that. Well, I want to say the last time we used it, 6 years passed after that point. And then one day my AD comes to me and is like, hey, how do we get this printer back up and working? Because it's not working right now. And I took one look at it and I was like, I don't know when was the last time we ran this, but I bet you the printer head is fucked. And sure enough, it was. And this
expensive.
$600 to replace the printer head.
Yeah, that's about right.
Which is like close to the price anyway of what that printer. It's getting close-ish to where you're like, why don't I just buy a new printer?
Right.
At that price point. So yeah, it no longer works, but it still sits in our office, just gathering dust.
And I even tried to like switch my printer to like just to be able to print like documents, like if I need to print just something like a piece of paper in black and white, and it will not print without cyan. And I'm like, well, I'm never using that then.
And you can't even like get I don't think you can even get just a black and white printer anymore. Like
I don't even think it exists. A laser printer.
Oh, fuck that.
And there's
so it's just a scanner for me
with that. Yeah.
All right, Andrew, what's your thing, and then we can move on.
I've been playing Dave the Diver.
Oh, you talking about Dave the Diver?
I've been playing so much Dave the Diver.
I mean, I looked it up. It looks, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me a little bit of a game I used to play on, I want to say it was Sega, either Sega Genesis. It was called Flashpoint or Flashback. It had like 16-bit graphics. I remember it's like a dude. He wakes up. He doesn't know where you look. It had like cityscapes, and the characters look a little bit. Man, let me look it up real quick. Make sure I'm saying the right.
It's interesting because like I want to say the characters themselves, they're sprite images. All the fish and then like all the scenery is all actually like low poly 3D, and it took me a moment to realize that. Yeah, no, it's
called Flashback. It's actually on Steam too.
I'll have to check that out.
It came out in '92. I'm just saying. I looked up your Dave the Diver, and a little bit of it reminds me of that game. So it kind of gave me a little bit of that. Like maybe I'll play it because I really like Flashback.
I somehow sunk like 18 hours into it at this point, and it's still. First off, I don't think I'm even like a third of the way through the story. Seems like
I
there's
mean, hey man, if you're
a
enjoying it,
loads amount of story, and then on top of it, it keeps unlocking shit too, like just new the core gameplay loop of it, where it's like you dive during the day and then serve sushi at nighttime. That's really strong, and on top of that, they keep adding new shit to it. Like I just unlocked, like I can now have a fish farm, so I don't have to dive as often. If I catch like live fish, I
do
make
you
it
ever
into
get
a
like attacked by like a shark or anything in that game?
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
never
the
mind.
sharks. I got attacked by a giant squid.
See,
So,
no, that's already turning into a Cthulhu sequence.
or even just the fact, like like any good diving thing, you run out of air. It's like the most harrowing experience. Just being like, hey, I'm like 200 meters below the ocean, and I'm running out of air.
Does your character get the bends if you come up too fast?
No, but you know what's funny is like, so they have this really neat feature that I like in it, where they have like, for lack of a better word, they have like fast travel points where if
Hmm.
you're far enough down and you're done with it, you're like, okay, I want to surface now. You don't have to make your way all the way back to the surface. They in fact have like
Like
little
just fast forward as
like
if you did it.
well, no, what they have is like they have little radio. There's these little like radio icons scattered around in the various areas, and if you go to one of those, you can summon an escape pod that'll drop, like a diver pod that'll drop down, and then it'll bring you up automatically. But the great thing about that is like the loading screen of that is they say it's like you're depressurizing, so you don't get the bends and everything.
Sure, that's
And
cool.
it's just your little character. He's just smiling, reading like a manga or like a book or something, in the diving
Oh,
pod.
in the
It's
diving pod.
yeah, depressurizing.
Oof.
No, it's great. It's a great game though. I've been loving it a lot.
Yeah, you've been talking about it for weeks now. So
It's a
it's
good
like,
game.
I got it. We got it. Tawny got it too because she's in that group.
Yeah.
All right,
So
let's
yeah,
move
enough
ahead.
about diver.
Let's talk about this Kickstarter. So your first Kickstarter was stargazing, right?
Yep,
Is that right?
that
And
was
then
this one.
that's that one, which was just
Shiny.
successful. And I
Yeah.
noticed. I went and looked at both, and they both got projects we love from Kickstarter, which
Yeah,
I think is cool.
that was really exciting. I was stoked.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then the
this
second
one,
one was Zodiac, right?
See what?
The second one was Zodiac.
This no,
no, the
the
first
first
one
one
is
was
Zodiac.
Stargazing. That's Zodiac,
Oh,
and then the
what's the
second
second
one
one?
is La Fleur Mystique, which means the mysterious flower. And it's flowers that have like magical
Oh, I
properties
thought.
or healing properties and stuff.
Oh, okay. Wait, no, sorry. I'm getting confused on timeline. Then what was your Make 100? Because you said that was your first.
That was
N-
way back in the day.
That was well, and I
Oh,
did Stargazing was also a Make 100
Oh,
oh, really?
that's
because I
right.
launched that one on January 31st.
Oh,
And I had a tier that was like 100 of them would be signed. But this one is just um, the book, and then you can get two of the book. You can get Stargazing and La Fleur Mystique. You can get there's one tier that's limited to only 10, and I think like 6 of them are already taken. I don't know. I didn't check today, but where you can get a sketch of your favorite flower on the inside cover.
oh.
So I'll be trying some of those
I
flavors.
was just about to
There's five.
ask
You got
you.
5 left in that tier.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
The Jade Vine
So
tier.
yep, jade vine tier. Was like, what's one of the rarest flowers? That's not the corpse flower because I was like, I don't want it to be the corpse flower tier.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
I, I
exactly.
I was gonna ask you, if someone has not backed this yet, what is the pitch line to get them to back it? But honestly, like having a hand drawn flower, that's a pretty good incentive.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a coloring book for anyone. It's geared like it's technically like an adult coloring book. It's geared toward adults, but it's all ages friendly.
Hmm.
And like I said, it's 12 or more if we reach that stretch goal, which I don't know if we're going to, but drawings featuring like the embodiment of certain flowers that have either magical, medicinal, or both properties. So like calendula is one of the most magical and healing, like scientifically healing herbs. And so that's one of the flowers. Calendula can be used from like you can heal like acne and
I think
Really?
Violet
reduce
has
the
that in
scarring and
her
stuff. Yeah,
conditioner, maybe for
yeah,
her hair.
it's a pretty common like I mean, it depend. People believe different things or whatever, but
Sure.
you know, and some of them are used in like, you know, rituals and spell work, like you know, well, lavender is another one that has like both like aromatherapy and like healing properties, and is used in a lot of like rituals and spell work. So
I can
that's
see
why
that.
it's Lafleur, because so many flowers have like mysterious qualities to them. We don't know why they work, but they work. So,
And
yeah.
you have, I'm assuming you have more planned beyond this because you seem to have. Do you know a lot about these flowers? Obviously, because I don't know shit about properties of
Yeah.
flowers. I mean, I can't even like if a bouquet of flowers is sitting outside.
Yeah,
It's just like they're just flowers to
there's
me.
already like I have plans for other coloring books too, but there's probably going to be a second Le Fleur Mystique just because like I've got 12 in this book printed twice, so there's 24 coloring pages.
Sure.
Um, but there's so many more. Like I didn't even there's just so many that I didn't even draw a dandelion. That's like one of the most like healing
And nobody called
plants.
you on that yet. Where's the
I could go
dandelion?
no, but I have a whole I could go on a tangent about dandelions and how there was a campaign of hate against dandelions, and it's BS, and we need to appreciate dandelions. They're so beneficial for everything.
Campaign of
Stop killing dandelions.
wait, like there was an
The
actual
dandelions are like the ones that
concerted
just pop
effort to
off on
try
your
to
lawn,
like
right?
squash out dandelions.
Yeah, we both
Or
asked something. So
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
dandelion, like the little yellow flower, they end up with little puff. The kids like to.
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you ask, Andrew?
Sorry, there was an actual concerted effort against dandelions,
I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's
or was it
like
just
I
general like
think
general people were like fucking weeds in my lawn, which
yeah,
every
it's
dumb
like
person's like that.
I think a lot of like like weed killing companies sort of There's literally a truck in my in Colorado Springs, and I don't remember what the name of the truck, but it has a giant dandelion on it with crosshairs from a sniper rifle. What
Oh
are
my
you doing, sir? First of all,
I
it's
mean, he's got people
why we got to
convinced
bring
that they
guns
should
into
kill
it. And
him.
second of all, it's a dandelion. But I don't think people but in all seriousness, I don't think most people realize the benefit of dandelions and how important they are.
Right.
Like they're the first flower in the spring in most places, especially out here like in Colorado where like we're in like a veritable like it's a desert tundra, so like we don't get a lot of flowering like plants, especially early in the spring. Dandelions are one of the first things to pop up, so it's good for the bees. We need bees. Hello, wild bees especially. And dandelions have really deep roots, and they bring nutrients up from from like deep down. So like it's funny because like I'm gonna try not to get too in the
well, it's
weeds about this, but we have this.
of all like quote unquote weeds, like especially like the deep rooted thing you mentioned, like because
Yeah,
I just weeded like my garden the other day, and yeah, most weeds are like incredibly shallow roots and stuff. Like you pull it up and
yeah.
it's like maybe like an inch deep, if that, compared to like
And they're
a
easy, like most of them break off easily. But dandelions, they're technically invasive because they were brought over like on the Mayflower, like literally. But they're a beneficial invasive species. And so early bloomer, bring up nutrients from the soil. And like what's so funny about it is like I hate manicured lawns. I just have a bone to pick with them. Because they're horrible for the environment. Like literally manicured lawns in America are worse for the environment than the agriculture industry. But anyway, but it's funny because like I'll see people in local groups and stuff say, "Oh, my grass is dying. Why is my grass dying?" Well, we have a tendency to mow the lawn and then pick up all the clippings.
Yeah, don't
What
leave
do
them
you
there.
think plants grow? Like, how do you think plants grow? So, like, we don't have any nutrients for our soil, and our grass dies, and we're like mad about it. It's like leave the dandelions,
Right.
let the leaves decay. Like, but
We
yeah.
got like over here
Anyway,
in our neighborhood, we always had the. I'm sure they're all over the U.S., but it's a company called True Green that just drives
yep,
around
they're
and
out here
sprays
too.
the lawn. And my
It
dad's
sprays
always like,
chemicals.
"Yeah, it's chemicals." So my dad consistently tries to be like, "You should get this." I'm like, "No," because I'm like, my grass is green. It's fine. You know,
Yeah.
my guy
What's funny is like,
mulches it just
oh, go
fine.
ahead, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's stupid when you
I
spend
mean,
money on stuff
it
like that.
really does tie into like the coloring book though, because I'm really over the last few years, I mean, this sort of ties into everything in my life. And maybe that's what this coloring book is sort of the manifestation of like the way that I've like sort of paying more attention back to like the earth, just around me, not, you know, like the earth globally. I can't do anything about most of that, but like I can affect what's in front of me, right? And so it's funny that like the longest time I was sort of wrapped up in this idea of like what my yard needs to look like. It needs to be beautiful. I need to have curb appeal. I need to, like impress my neighbors with my rockscaping and make sure I have no weeds. And I would agonize over the side of the yard that like over those like river rock. It's been there for years. So like, under it's just there's dirt and stuff in it. So weeds grow up really easily. And I would just agonize. I would be like so upset that like if I go a week without pulling the weeds, they're everywhere. But it just got to be too much. And I realized that like there's a lot of beneficial stuff too that like we see everything that we didn't purposely put in there as a weed. So I started learning which ones are noxious invasive species, like bindweed, which I have a war going on with some in my backyard, and which ones are actually beneficial, like dandelion or black-eyed Susans, like stuff that is a weed but it's good. Like black-eyed Susans are another pollinator flower, butterflies and bees need them. And it's interesting that like when I started shifting my focus to, okay, what can I let grow that's supposed to be here and is beneficial? And then try to learn what's not. Like Moose has been fighting against the thistle in the front yard and he's starting to get all, we're not seeing as much anymore. But my backyard, there's grass for the first time. Like since we've lived here, because like I said, we live in a desert tundra. Like trying to get grass to grow here, you go through so much water because you have to water it and stuff. So
Sure.
we don't water our lawn. But this year, I mean, we've had a lot of rain this year, so that's probably part of it. But like we have grass. It's like this short. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like a short growing grass that's drought tolerant. I don't know where it came from, and I don't know
Yeah,
if any of
where's
your
it?
viewers are like a little bit like woo
I don't
woo,
know.
like
I
in a
don't know grass
universe
names
and
either.
stuff. Yeah, but I like to believe that when I started like cooperating with my environment around me, it started cooperating back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
yeah. So
For the most part,
that's what
like
we've been focusing on.
for the most part, like our weeds are not too bad. I wish we had dandelions. We don't really seem to get dandelions down here. Um,
It's
my
probably too
yard
humid.
yeah, it might be that. I honestly don't know. My yard, like specifically, the weeds are not as much of a problem for me as there's two other plants in my yard that are a freaking nightmare, and that's I have a bougainvillea that
The
somehow someone
fuck
let
is a
grow to be
bougainvillea?
like it's a
It's a vining like
yeah,
flower. Yeah.
technically it's like usually I think like hedge
I
height or
see
whatever.
it. Hmm.
This thing's the height of a tree. It's like about 20 to 30 feet high right now.
Is
And
it like native to your area or invasive? I don't know much about it. I know what it is, but
I
we don't have
think
it here, so.
I think it's like invasive, but
It
I
says
don't
it
think it's
thrives
native,
in
but I also
hot,
don't
dry climates.
I don't think it's native,
Oh,
but I also don't think it's like it like quote unquote doesn't hurt anything for the most part.
so why does it bug you?
Well, so what the reason it bugs me is like, a it's not mine, so it's hard for me to like be able to trim it down as much as I can because it's like 90% of it overhangs in my yard. Um,
So
but
your
it's like really
neighbors?
high. Yes, it's my neighbors, but it's also really high up. So most of it that I need to trim off, I would have to get like an arborist to come out and trim it back or whatever, so it's not growing as much as it is. What happened was a few years back when we had Hurricane Irma, um, the hurricane knocked over a tree, like one of my neighbor's trees, into the yard, and that was fine. Like we had to get that removed and stuff. But what happened when that happened, it also brought the bougainvillea into our yard, and it was like, ooh, open space. It's gonna, and it just did this like all throughout, and if it kind of stayed in its one little corner, I wouldn't care as much. The problem is like it keeps trying to like spread out as far as possible, and it has these like giant
It
thorns
looks
on
like
it.
just flowers to me.
Oh, see, here's the thing: it has thorns about yay big on it,
Oh, that's yeah. I saw this.
and
This is thorny.
it's very thorny, and it's kind of like it's hard to. As a result, it's like hard to trim back and stuff because you have to have like really thick gloves and all that. And then if you got a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, like
Yes.
my daughter, like she runs around,
I
she'll
wonder if
see it and
that's
be
what
like, "Ooh, I want to
my
touch this."
parents used to have this like tree in their yard that it sounds exactly like what you're describing. That all these flowers and they had these spiky thorns on it. That were about.
I
And I
would have
remember on the Christmas season we used to hang lights off this thing, and I fell into it one year. It did
Yeah,
not
but
feel
for the
good.
most part, like I'm fine with it. It's mainly that I have to
It's
get an arborist out to trim. If I can get an arborist out to trim like the top half of it down, that'll kind of manage it a lot more. It's just gotten like real out of control in the subsequent years and stuff. The other one that is actually invasive, according to the state of Florida, and my yard is testament to that, is a flower called Mexican petunias, which I don't know what the actual scientific name of that is. It's like,
We're all like
ru-
Googling.
yeah,
yeah,
it's like an R name of some
yeah. It
kind of
says
R name, like Ruelia or
yeah,
whatever.
Ruellia simplex.
So that
Ruella
thing is very
simplex. That sounds
pretty.
like a disease,
So
man.
it's pretty. It's like you said, Tawny. It's
it's
good
a
for
it's
bees,
it's a
which
cool looking
is
plant.
it's a pretty plant. It's good for like pollinators and all that because of the flowers and everything. On the other hand, though, it will spread unchecked. Um,
Yeah, I
it
can
when
see
we
that.
first moved in, it was all pretty tidy and all that. I guess the previous owner only planted it like fairly recently before she passed. And in the years that we've lived here, it's tried to take over uh, some spots of our yard. Like I more or less have it now like corralled where it stays to its place where it is. And for the most part, all I have to do now is like just kind of go through and like just occasionally lop off the top of it, and it's fine. But in her backyard, she had planted like a row of it along our house, and within like 2 years, it consumed about a quarter of our yard. And so we were trying to manage that and all that. And it's a whole thing where it's like pulling it out's not enough to tame it. It'll
Just
immediately,
grow
like I
back.
said, yeah, it grows back.
Petunias grow deadheading. You're actually probably doing yourself a disservice by like pruning it because deadheading petunias make them go nuts.
Well, that's the crazy thing is like it does act like a petunia, but it's technically not a petunia. I have no
Hmm.
idea why they call it that. I guess it's because it looks
Maybe because it kind of looks like
supposed-ish.
one.
Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because like if you leave it be, it'll find a way to spread. If you try and curtail it in some way, unless you rip it out root and stem and then kind of do that consistently as it tries to reestablish itself, it'll also find a way to spread. And in some cases, like tearing it out just kind of spreads whatever the seeds or the pores or spores or whatever of it more, and then you end up with it where it's like you look over and you're like, why is it all the way over there now? Why is it growing that way? But
Yeah,
yeah.
bindweed. If you try to pull bindweed, it invigorates the roots and then it becomes a bigger and bigger monster.
Oh man.
And bindweed is about
Oh,
this tall above the ground and about 20 feet under the ground.
yeah. This
Oh
thing
god, that's
says
so
the only way to stop it from spreading is be sure to get the whole plant. Mexican petunia has underground rhizomes that will produce new plants if not removed. Larger as the Mexican petunia can be killed with
yeah.
herbicides.
It's a and see, I don't want to go that route
Right.
for the
That's why
Yeah,
simple
that's
like
what
I
we're
fact.
trying
don't
to
like I
avoid
don't
with
like
the.
spraying anything around my house because in my head I'm like my kids out there sometimes playing.
Well, and
There's other kids out here playing.
if
The
you
way
look into your state's like agriculture like society or whatever, so I'm on the wait list for I forget what they're called, but they're basically bindweed mites, and I should get them next year, and I'll put them on the bindweed, and they'll kill the bindweed, but they're good.
Right.
They're like little bugs, and they do the work. Right now, we just have like it's ugly, but this huge mat of like there's a tarp and some bindweed, some weed band cloth and stuff, and we've got like, but we have to go out there and like if it's because it'll creep out, and I mean there's like parts that are like bulging up because it's trying to grow. It's weak and it's using all of its resources to try to grow, and it's not flowering, which is a good sign because all the bindweed in the areas around us are flowering, but ours isn't.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that's a good sign. We're trying to avoid because there's only like one chemical that'll kill it, and it kills everything, and I don't want to do that. We
Yeah.
have a little dog that walks around in the yard, and I just don't want to put chemicals if I can avoid it. So trying to do that and keep it trimmed. Hopefully we'll get the mites next year, and then the mites will multiply and kill the other bindweed around us.
I've got the philosophy of it. If it kills plants, it likely can kill me as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, they plants, yeah. I think that especially as I looked into what plants I wanted to put in this coloring book, I'm becoming more and more fascinated by them. Like the science behind like the houseplants and stuff and how they like will grow better if you're nice to them. And I don't mean just watering and fertilizing them. If you're like, oh my God, you're so pretty, like they grow better.
I mean, it's like they
Like,
listen,
what is
right?
that?
Good
Like,
vibration.
there's
Yeah, good
Yeah.
science
vibe.
behind that, yeah. And they've recently determined that plants, it's not in the same way we do, but they can see. I think
Right.
it's probably like shadows and
Yeah.
light, but like they can see.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't just like
Like
I
feel
mean,
the
I wouldn't be
warmth of
surprised
something.
if
They
a
like
plant's
see
actually
it.
listening to you when it's just chilling in your house.
Yeah, I mean, especially if there's, there's science behind like being nice to it and like or playing rock music or, whatever. Like and my plants when I started paying attention to them and like wanting, giving a shit about them, they started growing like crazy. I'm definitely that crazy lady that walks around the house going, "Look at you and your petals. You've got gold on your petals. You look so pretty."
Oh, I'm the guy. I killed a banana plant in here last year.
I used I used to
I
be
don't
like
even know what
such
I
I
did. I
killed
did
an
everything right.
oleander. Like I killed an oleander because I didn't know how to take care of plants. But I
Yeah.
also learned what I'm able to take care of. Snake plants, pothos, and spider plants. That's it. That's
Well,
all
I
the
mean,
house
this
plants
banana
we have.
plant, my mom's like, all you have to do is water it
Plants are
once a
about
day.
what I do. Yeah.
But it started like,
No, that's too much.
yeah. So I was like, I
That's too
learned
much.
it's too much. It also
Yeah.
turned this weird, like, it had this weird sticky
Sickly
brown.
yellow or something.
Yeah, it was dripping on the
It's
floor, and I
probably
was
like
like,
missing
ugh.
nutrients
Yeah.
or
And then
you're
I quickly read
overwatering.
up on it, and all this stuff was telling me how to like reverse it. So I tried for like a month to see if I can get it
And you're
to
like,
heal itself. Well, I called
what's
my
funny
mom
about
finally, and
pothos? I love pothos because the leaves will start to turn yellow, and you'll Google yellow leaves for pothos, and it comes back with it's either getting not enough water or too much water,
right,
not enough light or too much light,
That's like
not
doesn't
enough
help.
nutrients or too much nutrients.
Yeah,
There's no way to
I was like, this
know.
doesn't
You
help
just
me.
have to
Yeah, because I
adjust.
moved it
that's
by the window, then I moved it away from the window, then I gave
Yeah.
it
Oh,
water,
one of
and
my
then not enough
pothos
water.
I moved to the back to give another one some room to grow, and that plant got pissed and it started turning yellow like immediately. So I moved it back into this window in the front, and it's happy now. And it's like, okay, well, you're being a little bit
Well,
of a drama, but
I mean,
it's fine.
I took this thing out to die. I messaged my mom and I said, "What should I do here?" She's like, "Yeah, that's gonna die. Just put it outside." And I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh," I'm like, and
that's
it
how I
was in
used to
it
do
was like the
it.
dead of winter, so like,
Yeah,
I felt bad doing it, but I'm just like, we're not
like
cut
I've tried
out for
having
giant
orchids
banana
and stuff.
plants.
It's too dry here for like anything that needs humidity. Not in this house. Too
Nanch
dry
has these
here.
like hanging plants. I don't know what they're called, but they look like they're like like little spores, and then there's plants growing out of them, and then they're in like these containers, and she sprays them like once a day with just a mist, and that's
Huh.
all they need. They seem to be thriving. Um, Again, I'm not a plant person, so I'm just like,
inside plants. I wish we could do, but we don't have a whole lot of great light, like direct light that
Oh,
gets
neither
into
do
the
we.
house.
I got these little plant tier stands, so I put more plants in a window and just
Yeah,
well,
found the best
I was
spot
gonna
in the
get
window.
a snake plant, I guess. I was
but
talking to
then
Amy Zhao. Is that how you say her last
oh,
name?
okay.
She's a huge plant person, so she was like telling me all this stuff, and she's like, she looked at. I sent her a photo of like the window open, the
Yeah.
whole
You
room.
could do with some pothos and some snake plants, right? Or
Yeah,
wandering dude. Okay, I call it wandering dude. The actual name is wandering Jew. But they
Oh
grow
yeah,
really
you
well
sent us some
too.
of that. Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
see what
But
that is.
I have a couple of those. I have one that's literally a curtain on my back sliding glass window. My sliding glass door because it grows so fast, very aggressively.
Yeah,
Oh, I
But
see
it's
it.
it's a
it's
great
pretty.
cover. Yeah, great ground
Yeah,
cover plant.
it is.
I used to have it in my
But
yard.
yeah, I have it as a
Hmm.
house plant. I don't know if it would. I don't think it would grow outside here. It would probably take over. I'm trying to get some clover to take over in my yard.
Oh yeah,
That's another one that people try to pull because they see it as a weed.
so actually, all right, we'll keep on. I'd like to keep this to be the plant hour then. No, I was
That's what it's
actually
turning
looking
into.
to. I was
It
actually
fits with the coloring book, right?
yeah.
Like,
No, I was actually looking to replace at least part of our lawn because I hate mowing the grass and stuff. I was actually looking to
yeah,
just.
clover. You don't gotta mow it if you don't want to.
That's what I was. Yeah, I was looking into clover. What? I'm sure it's totally different. Requirements for like your area compared to Florida,
What
but
is it
like
called?
what species clover were you looking at?
A lot of so I actually so what we actually did was we went there's a few walking trails and stuff around us that had some clover, and we picked seeds from it because if it can
Oh,
grow in this area, so that's what we did. But I mean, you can't go wrong with like white Dutch clover and micro clover for lawns. because they won't get that tall. Some of the prairie clover gets a little taller, but we don't care if it gets tall in our yard because our neighbors can just be mad.
Those are cool looking too.
They know I'm witchy, so if you want to start something, I'll just text you. Just kidding.
You're just out there like blowing dandelions.
Yeah, I'm just like, and they're like, oh god, she's casting spells.
She's doing something. If you want to really freak them out, just eat one.
Which you can. Dandelions, eat the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just start chewing on it while staring at them.
Yeah. Raise a salad.
Let's talk a little bit about this book.
Early dandelions are.
Yeah.
Because I was curious to obviously you like the zodiac stuff, so you did zodiac first, and now you like plants. Clearly, you guys both know more about plants than I do. So you started doing. Can you give us a hint on what else you're working on?
I have an idea for.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
I don't want to say. No, I do.
Okay, don't say it. That's fine.
No, I want to say it because the reason I don't want to say it is because then they'll come for me.
Well, I'm mainly asking because I'm curious to like you did the zodiac because you can actually like you're not doing because you're just like I like the zodiac. It's like you really deep dive and know the zodiac and you can like talk to the thing you're actually creating. Is my point.
Instead of just doing it because
it's not a cash grab for you. It's like you deeply feel the thing you're creating. So like that's what like
and we talked about. I actually talked. I went to Vanessa Lemon's opening in Denver last month, and we talked about me doing coloring books. She wasn't one of those people like, why are you doing coloring books? But she was asking me about it, like, how's it going and stuff. And we sort of got into the conversation. There's a bunch of us there about like the biggest reason I'm doing coloring books is because I do feel that like on some kind of level, and I think scientifically we're getting close to figuring out how with the quantum shit, we are all connected. All of us, like even though we're across the country from each other right now and we're connected to the earth and we've disconnected so hardcore that's why everything's going so funky. We might also be like a flesh-eating bacteria on the skin of the earth, but that's another conversation. Anyway, point being, we're all connected, and I wanted to create something that other people could be part of in a way. And so there are these I mentioned this, I think I've mentioned this before, that there's these communities of coloring book enthusiasts, and they color like they'll take the most basic like ABC coloring book and make works of art out of it. They're so good, and they're so into it. And I wanted to make something like I can't wait to see how people color my stuff. Like I'm so excited for it. It's like a collaboration for me, and that's why I'm choosing to do coloring books. And so. Oh,
sorry, I almost dropped my water all over my Cintiq over here.
Oh, no.
So I did the Zodiac one, and then Le Fleur Mystique. I have an idea for possibly crystals and rocks, which I'm not as knowledgeable about as far as like some of the qualities of them.
Are you gonna do one on crystal skulls? Just kidding.
Maybe, I don't know, but I think I don't know all the qualities of crystals and stuff, but I think they're pretty. Shiny rocks are always good.
I mean, geodes are fun.
And
there's some wild ones that really make you wonder why the hell does this come out in nature?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like, tourmaline and stuff. But
sometimes when I see some of those, I'm just like, should you have pulled that from the
right? Like some of the really weird quartzes and stuff that come out of the ground. It's like, whoa, or like onyx and stuff. But there seems to be, and if you do believe at all in the like connected energy of everything, there seems to be a mushroom thing happening. Like I know of Gawky did the mushroom enamel pin Kickstarter.
Well, aren't mushrooms are like connect, like
they're closer to us in their like genetic structure than they are to plants.
Right.
Not
so we're super close. So I might do a mushroom
because they're not from here, man. They fell out of the sky.
No, they are more from here. We're just connected. Just because it's weird doesn't mean it's not from here.
What fell out of the sky here? Iron, right? The iron in our system.
Iron falls from iron comes from like meteorites and stuff.
I had a hard time convincing people that the iron in our systems came from. I'm like, it's not a natural thing here.
I know, that's crazy. So I might do that. I've had an idea. Like there's just so many. I don't know which one is going to be next. I just let.
I got you.
Either my ADHD or universe or whatever it is that like gets me to do something. Decide.
What's your boat at the time?
Yeah,
but no, it's cool because you could like you're talking about the thing you create. Like I once did a show with a friend who I'm not going to name, but they were interested in creating art for the sake of just because they just want to do shows and make money. And I remember like someone's trying to relate to them, right? Talk to them about their art. And when they were like, why did you do this specific topic? And they were just like, I just like to draw. And I'm just like, no, I mean, cool. But it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of general attitude. People are like, oh, okay, fine. You just like to draw, fine. But if you can like, it works, you know, like I see it with my stuff when I can speak to the thing. I talk about my stories. I talk about.
Well, and that's like when we find that thing to connect on.
Right.
And it can be in the art. And that's why like a lot of art that I do, it's like I'll see someone, especially Love and Death, like people will walk up and like I've talked about this before too, and they'll walk up and they'll beeline right to it. And it's like there's a connection there between them and the art, but then like me and the art. So inherently there's a connection between the two of us. So like we're connected cosmically or whatever. Like we both felt something in that thing. And that's what I love. And that's what I like about the coloring books too, is like I'm connecting with people who aren't necessarily buying art. They're not at conventions. They're not going to, be, I'm not, fans and followers or whatever, but like, they're not going to find my art any other way. But like we connect over that and then they get to be part of that art too. And that's freaking rad.
That's something I like a lot about coloring books.
It
does give people like an opportunity to go back to art, especially if like they've closed themselves like in adulthood. Same thing, like I know some artists, both that we know and don't know. It's all over the gamut. Like some people don't like those paint by number kits that come, like you can get it like whatever. Like I always liked the idea of those. I used to do them a lot when I was a kid, and I still like them. I still like the idea of them as an adult because it's kind of like if you don't have any, like if you stop doing art when you're a kid, that's a really good way to just kind of like get your feet wet again, to realize like, oh yeah.
And creative activities like that are just so healing no matter who you are. Like Moose he's not an artist, but he creates flies that he ties for fly fishing. For him, like he's crafting these things, and it just stuff, any kind of thing that you can create or be part of. It's so good, like emotionally, mentally, like
I think like if you can get people to, it's like when they do the I don't know if you want to call it a drink and draw, the wine and paint, whatever those are.
Oh yeah,
paint and sips.
And some people get like all like worked up about it, but I'm like, it's actually fun. Like
I don't think I've talked to anybody that got like worked up.
Well, I've had people go to it and they're just like, that wasn't fun for me, and I'm like, because you're overthinking it. Like the whole idea is just you just enjoy the fact
they're like trying to make a good piece instead of just
it's like don't try to like I tell people like like I have a friend who runs one in the city, right? So like he's like every once in a while you get a couple who's there supposed to be on a date and they're not having fun because they're stressing out, like, and it's kind of paint by numbers. They tell you exactly how to paint it, and it's never going to look the same. No two pieces will look the same, right? Even though you're all painting the same thing, which is wild because that's how your brains work, right? You're painting how you want to paint.
And isn't that amazing too? Like,
and if you're painting angry, it's going to look bad.
I
tell people, I'm like, if you're painting angry, it's going to look like you painted angry. If you're painting happy, it's going to look like you're actually enjoy the thing. If you're stressed out, it's going to and it's interesting how your brain, you could easily just you and I talk about this every once in a while. If you just shift away that negative thought and try to bring in a positive thought.
Allen, what's the motto they should take to that then? Oh, come on. You know your motto.
Control the things you can control. That one?
Oh, the other one. The one that's way more applicable.
Oh, flow, don't push.
Yes.
Yes, be like water, right? Yeah. Like Bruce Lee said, be like water.
Well, I tell the artists, I say, flow, don't push. And then in Scott's class, they were like, explain that. And I'm like, it just means if you push hard to create a thing, it's going to be shit for you. You're going to be stressed.
And you're going to get frustrated. And every time you look at it when it's done, you're going to be pissed.
You're going to be pissed because you're going to be like, I could have done better. But if you just enjoy the process. People hate saying enjoy the process. I'm like, no, enjoy the process.
You have to though. Like even if there's parts of it that are like, oh my god, I can't figure out how to do this, or this isn't whatever.
Anything.
Like, and that's okay. Like you have to push past that. Push past that to an extent of like the frustration of stuff. Like there's pieces in the work. Like there's parts of the one I'm working on right now that like I realized, I put those marks in the wrong area, and that's frustrating. But instead of just being like, well, blah, I just was like, we'll roll with it, and we'll and with
Right.
ink, it's like that. We're rolling with it now.
I mean, the number of
I'm
times
also
I've worked
willing.
on the wrong layer, and it's just like,
Yeah,
well, there's nothing I can do about that now.
I've also
Yeah,
scrapped
see, Andrew,
entire
you know what's
pieces.
up.
Like, I was almost done with a drawing of Hecate on clayboard, and I'm straight up not having a good time. And so I started it over, and now it's coming through.
So I've gotten to a point
But
where if something is like if you're hitting a level of stress where you're just like I'm gonna hate this piece if I keep going.
Gotta
I
walk
don't.
away from
I
it.
just walk away from it. I move to the next piece
yeah,
for a little bit, right? And I come back because people
and
be
maybe
like,
I'll
"Hey,
come
what
back
about
to
this
it.
one?"
Yeah,
And I'll be like, "I'll get to it. I'll come back to it." And like
yeah,
you guys have seen my homeworld piece with the spaceship going around the corner, and it's one of my most popular pieces. But I had shelved that thing for 3 years. Like I created
yeah,
an early version of it. It was fine. I didn't really love what I had made, but I made something. I made the story of it. I made the thing, but I was actually still early in my career. And then I got better at what I do. So I redid it. And I love the new version of it. And
yeah.
people
You
like it
can
too.
also redo an old piece of work. Like,
Yeah, anytime. Who
I
is
don't know where
stopping you?
people got the idea that like, oh, I've already drawn the Morrigan, so I can't again. Like, no, if she comes back to me and she's like, draw me again, then I'm gonna do it. I
Yeah,
also I
exactly.
don't know if it works for you guys, but a gauge for me, and this is obviously if you're working for clients, it's you don't have this freedom, but since I do
Sure.
whatever I want, I don't work for clients, I can do this. But a gauge for me is if I am like, okay, I want to get some drawing done, I need to get some work done, and I don't want to work. Like I'm like, oh God, no, I'm not touching that piece. Like I'm doing everything but that piece, then it's time to put it aside for a while or let it go entirely. But if I wake up and I'm like, oh, instead of changing out the laundry, I want to keep working on this, that's when I know it's coming together. It's fine. It's good.
Actually, yeah. Let me pose a question to the both of you then. Like, so when I get frustrated with a piece, um, I find I can't go to another piece at the moment because I tend to carry that negative energy along into that new piece. Like, if I'm frustrated drawing with something, trying to draw something else is not the solution for me. I'll end up doing something else entirely, either woodworking or model building.
So that's what I was
Something
gonna.
else
Well, that's
entirely.
true. That's what you should like. You should don't go
Well,
from
well,
one piece that you don't want to draw to another piece that you're trying to draw. You got to do something in between that's
yeah.
totally
So,
different.
well, like you mentioned offhand, like a few minutes ago, like you move sometimes to another piece. So I was just wondering, like, do you guys just go to another piece? Because I know some artists that do that,
Sometimes
where if they
I
work
do.
on
Sometimes it
something and they're
depends,
not
right?
done with it, or if they're done with it, they just go to another one.
No, I used to jump to another piece, but what I've been doing lately is I've been purposely telling myself do something different. And something different could be something as simple as practicing my guitar or reading a comic book or playing a video game or watching a television show, like catch up on something. Anything that's going to like basically I'm trying to bring myself down from this it's not nervous energy, it's anxiety, right? Or
Yeah.
frustration. So I was like, what's frustrating me is this piece right now. What I need to do is not think about this.
And Tawny, you're kind of about the same, like you said, sometimes.
I think it depends on why I'm stuck, why I'm pissed at the piece.
Hmm.
If it's I can't figure out a technique or I'm struggling with a technique, um, I will probably take a break from it and work on something else that is like more familiar. So, for instance, if I'm doing a more kind of personal, it's so funny because I'll say personal piece versus coloring book. The coloring books are personal too, but
Sure.
they're simpler, right? I don't do shading and I don't do depth in them because they're coloring books. They're coloring
Yeah.
pages. Um, and for the most part, most of those pieces will never come to like a finished personal piece level. That's what they're meant for, is to be a color page. So if I'm working on like Hecate and it's like I'm struggling with it and like there's something I can't quite figure out how to do, then I'll pick up a coloring page. I'll either take a break if I just need to walk away from it because I've been working on it too long. But if it's been a couple of days and I'm still not willing to pick that piece back up, I have to address it too. Like, what is it about the piece? So like I'll think about like what is it about piece? Like the one that I scrapped, it was I can't quite figure out the way that I wanted to do like certain elements in the background. And it was to the point where it was like I couldn't really fix it at this point because I have aphantasia. I can't picture in my head what it should look like. I just kind of have to wing it. And I have aphantasia and ADHD. So aphantasia, I can't visualize what I want to draw, and ADHD means thumbnailing is the worst thing on the planet. I hate thumbnailing.
I
I,
think everybody hates thumbnailing.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's ADHD or just an artist thing, but I usually just wing it for the most part, and for better or worse. But it got to a point where I was like, you know what? It's not working. It's not working. I work out a lot of things in the sketch phase, so like my sketches are like erased like so many times. I work real light and everything. I should sketch like on the iPad, right? Like consider that thumbnailing. But
Yeah,
so if it's
actually,
like something like that that I can just leave it alone or just scrap it, I'll scrap it. But if it's something that like I can just break away for a few minutes and like work on something else and listen to like podcasts and stuff or like YouTube videos of people talking about that thing that I need to figure out, like
Mhm.
composition or whatever. I'll listen to that while I'm working on something else and it'll start to kind of roll around in there and giving it some space to like think about while I'm doing other stuff. Like, what if I did it this way while I'm folding laundry? What if I did it this way? And then I might have like an epiphany. And again, if a few days have passed and I still haven't quite figured out how to like on the one that I'm drawing right now, she's wearing like a bone shirt, for lack of a better term. And I was hung up on she also has these like pauldrons that have lace. And I was just so this is an example of like figuring out what the hang up was, right? So I was like, I am dreading doing this, but like I love drawing intricate details. Like look at Eris. Like if I can get in there and get nitty gritty. So I'm like, what the hell? After a couple days, I realized I was concerned about making it look like lace and how perfect lace is, right? And so I was just like, what if I just drew some shapes and filled it in and made it lacy?
Yeah.
yeah.
And now, like, though that part's that I can show you if you want to. I'm not going to show it because I don't want it
No,
to
don't show it. Save it for
spoil
later.
more. But so I think addressing what the hang up is, what's causing me to not want to work on this.
Yeah.
Why do am I hating the piece? Am I stuck on some technical thing that like I just need to figure out how to do and maybe I do some kind of other sketch that works that out? Or, what's the hang up? And sometimes it means working on something else for a while and sometimes it
I al-
means
I sh-
scrapping it.
I also have a habit of sometimes showing it to somebody else and saying, what do you see that I'm not seeing? If that makes sense. Like it depends, right? Like
It does, and
I
the
send
reason
stuff to Andrew all the time. I'll be like I was working on a design for a shirt for Dragon Con, which he helped
Mhm.
me close out
Oh
because
yeah,
I
the
was
helmet.
like, I'm not having the easiest time with the design because I don't design apparel. So I
Right.
was like, what am I doing wrong apparel wise? And you got me through
That's
that,
what
which is great. But like I've sent you stuff before. I'm like, what do you like? I sent you guys. You guys have seen the can't talk about it too much, obviously, but you guys have seen the graveyard piece I'm working on, and some people were like,
Mhm.
add a couple skulls here. Andrew, I think, was the one who caught the tangent right away, and I was just like, I didn't see that, which is the
Yeah.
simplest thing, but you don't see because you've been staring at it for a week.
I flip it upside down to look for tangents and
That's not a bad
offs and do all the
idea.
balance things.
Yeah,
A lot of people will
I used to
like
flip the
flip the
screen.
image.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that works for the most part, but most of my stuff it actually works really well for me to do that because most of my stuff is very like confrontational, which whatever. It's very like kind of symmetrical, but not. So I'll flip it to make sure it's like balanced. But flipping it upside down is another way that I do that. And sometimes if I'm stuck on a piece, I'll flip it upside down and leave it on my desk upside down. I'll be like,
right.
that's what's.
Now,
But I laughed when you said showing it to other people because my husband makes fun of me sometimes for this because I'm so resistant to
what they're going to
suggestions
say?
and
Yes.
what they're gonna say that like and not even like I'm okay with critique, when I ask for it or whatever, but especially if it's like something that's personal to me, inevitably someone will point out something about the piece that I'm gonna be salty about. Cause like, no, 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 you're wrong.
I can even name who would say that to you, but I won't. um, But that's what I was gonna say. Is that's the problem with that step. You have to be willing. You have to be prepared
Yeah, you have to
for
be
someone.
ready for it. Yeah.
I only show it to like 2 or 3 people because in my head I'm like, these are the people that are gonna just. They're not
I
gonna
also
sugar.
try to be specific.
Yeah, I mean, I want someone who's not gonna like. So I still mentor to Sean Murray occasionally. So I know he's
Yeah.
not gonna sugarcoat anything. He's gonna tell me
Yeah.
exactly what I did wrong in the landscape, right? Which is what I want. You don't want someone who's gonna like, this is how I would draw it. Just tell me what you see, and
Well,
then
because
but you
like
gotta be willing to listen and say, all right, I don't have to make these. Like Scott does this
I
all the
also
time in
get
class.
frustrated because nearly it's been so often that when I ask someone to take a look at something, I will be specific and be like, I need you to tell me, like, for instance, are there any tangents? That's what I need to know. The rest of it I've already, like, it's how, but I need to make sure there's nothing glaring, right?
Sure.
And I swear to God, 9 times out of 10, people will point out something that's not that thing. That's
It's
completely
just hard
not.
for.
And sometimes that will fucking ruin a piece for me. Excuse my language. It will
No, you're
ruin
fine.
a piece. There's one piece in particular, and you can probably guess which one I'm talking about, that I posted it and I asked a specific thing, and the person critiqued the shading. Like, it didn't have shading. And they're like, you need to add midtones. And I was like, have you looked at my art ever?
Yeah.
And it ruined, like, I have moved past it, and I like that piece again, but for like a while, I was like so mad. I don't know if you remember at one of the workshops for my critique group, which I was able to jump on because they had some extra time. There were 3 instructors, and I asked specifically, like, it was that point in my career where, like, I didn't know what to do with my art. I knew that, like, I'm okay with, like, my technique and stuff like that, and what I'm doing now, I'm way more like I know where I want to go with it. But at the time, I was like, where does this go? I'm surrounded by game artists like tabletop RPG, and my art doesn't fit there. Where does it go? And I was looking for that kind of guidance of, like, brewery, beer labels, this, that, whatever it is, that, like, where does it go? And the critique I got, my 30 minutes was used up by someone critiquing the, like, way that I was, like, like, I don't think it was shading. It was like my technique of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
This sounds a lot like a critique.
You know exactly who it is, Andrew.
I was so
Oh.
and I was so frustrated because
Oh.
this was my one chance at this workshop to get a critique, and I
Yeah.
asked a specific question, and that faculty just ignored my question and covered something else. And the thing is, you can't push back on that because then you're like ungrateful for the
Right.
critique, and it's like, no, I am, but that's not what I was, because, like, that stuff can be addressed, but, like, my overall question, my big hang up at the time was what to do with my work.
Right.
And so I was just still in the same position that I was in with, like, a little bit of better shading technique. Well, that's not going to fix my problem. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I have such a hang up with, like, showing my work to people because I so often get some random thing that's like, and and I understand too that, like, we should be open to critique, and I am.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
I'm
mean,
not. I don't know.
like, like to that point, like, if you post it in, like, say, a Facebook group, especially like a relatively large Facebook group, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of people out of the woodwork, especially people that are, like, lack of a better word, like,
experts.
I was gonna say book smart,
Right.
not street
Yeah, that's why
smart.
I don't post anything on.
Like,
I don't post
know the
anything.
theory that they
I don't post
probably
anything on
learned.
socials asking for advice. That's a bad.
Yeah. Well,
You
like, I
might
had
as.
critique
Well,
on, like,
even
how I do hair, and it's like, you don't know why I made that choice, though. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Right.
not the thing of, like, oh, it's just my style. Like, it'll be a critique about how, like, you're not supposed to draw every individual hair, and I'm like,
You
I'm
can if you
not,
want
though.
to.
I'm actually not. Like,
yeah,
it's just,
that's the crazy thing is, like, with especially a critique like that, is like the person giving the critique should be knowledgeable enough to recognize when it's either deliberate or when it's deliberately a crutch.
right.
Like, I remember in art school there was, going back to, like, it's my style kind of comment. Like, I
Yeah.
remember there was a student that, for some reason, like, man, he was really hooked on drawing, like, massive nostrils on people. We're talking, like, this shit was like Project Plowshare, where it's like massive craters, like deep and unending
I
black
wonder
holes.
why.
No idea why, and it could have been like any, and it wasn't tied to, like, any specific race or anything of, like, human that they drew. It was literally like any person they drew, it was like that.
Fascinated with nostrils, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. And like our teacher at the time kind of called out. He's like, and he tried to couch it as nice as he could. He was like, if this is, like, deliberate, that's fine. Understand it, like, it kind of narrows your appeal, because not I
Yeah.
don't think many people would, like, enjoy this or whatever. If this is what you want, this is what you want. But then he, like, flip side that, he was like, if this isn't what you want, and if you're just doing this because this is, like, the only thing you know how, here's the
Yeah.
other way we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that was by far like one of the best critiques I had ever seen in terms
I
of
think
like tackling that problem.
I think the frustrating thing about critiques is because I really am open to them. Like I don't want it to seem like I'm not. But I think most people aren't good at giving critiques because they're going to give a critique based on their expertise and
Right.
their what they like. For instance, taking my portfolio to like an art director for Magic the Gathering. That's not even a good example because they've hired, but like if you're taking your art to an
Just
art
someone
director
that's
or
not.
someone that has knowledge in like this specific type of art, they're going to critique your. But if your art doesn't fit that genre or whatever that vibe, you're going to get a critique that's way off. And I think that was part of the problem with like I would go to a LuxCon, for example, and I would get a critique from people who were amazing art directors, but they were art directing for their specific product. And my work was not,
Yeah.
it's just usually not, it's not, some game company might want my style on a card, but for the most part, my work's not going to go there. It's not going to go on a book cover. For the, again, there might be outliers, like it's not, never say never, but for the
Sure.
most part, if you look at my work, it's not going to go on a book cover. So if
Not
I'm going to like a
fine.
book cover art director, they're going to give me a critique that's going to get me hired by them, So I think that, and they're doing a good job. They're critiquing for what, that's what they need to be doing.
Right.
I think we also have to, as artists, identify who should be critiquing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not talking about
Yeah.
students that are like in like learning fundamentals and learning color theory and stuff like that. You just gotta learn that. But when you're at the point where it's like you're looking
It's
for certain critiques, you
from a
have to know who to go
con-
to.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
get very specific on who you ask for a critique. Like, I do a lot of world building landscapes, so Sean's perfect for that. I have a
Yeah,
very
exactly.
I
But
have a
like
very
me going to
specific
Sean, like what would he critique me on? You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like it would waste both of our times, I
I
feel
mainly
like.
only show my stuff to Sean and Scott at this point, and then obviously
Yeah.
Andrew helps me with stuff. But
I was gonna say, like, I think it depends on how well does that person know you, so they know like,
yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
this is like how Tawny draws and paints. So
And
I
what
need
my,
to know,
what's my,
yeah,
why?
what are your goals and stuff, and like going to like what you said earlier, like when you say like I'm looking for this. I think it's good to come in that then with the mindset of like, okay, Tawny's looking for this. What is the critique I can give her that's applicable to her and only her?
Yeah.
Like,
Like for instance,
it's
I was
bad for me to be like, you gotta have coloring, yo. If you're like, well, I'm
oh
looking
my God, do you know how many
like,
people have critiqued my art and told me to add color? What
yeah,
who's like,
Some of
okay.
our friends have done that to you.
yeah,
I know. Listen.
Oh, we're not gonna name them. We're a little over time,
But it's
so
so
let's plug the Kickstarter one more time. It's gonna be up until the 20th of July.
July 20th. Yeah. It's
Um,
La Fleur Mystique.
the Fleur Mystique, or you can type in Tawny Fritz. It came right up when I typed her name in.
yeah, it's going pretty good. Do you think you're gonna get the perforated stretch goal?
I don't think, unless there's like a massive push at the end, I don't think we're gonna make that. I think part of it might have been that it was only like the last one ended in February, and this one I launched
It's relatively
in
close.
June. So
Got it.
yeah, they were really close together.
I think
But it did,
if you keep pushing these like by the holiday seasons and stuff, I think you'll make.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is like the Kickstarter is mostly to help fund the production of it, so that like
Yeah.
Kickstarter backers get their kind of perks and stuff, but just to get the books out there so that
Yeah.
I can get them to
It's like
more
a
people.
relatively
And I
quick.
think once I have a couple, like the next one will probably do better. But it's gonna be a while. I gotta take a break from it for a little while because I can feel myself burning out on it. So
Yeah, don't burn out
um,
on it.
That's fair.
So
take a
tell the
break from.
audience, other than this Kickstarter, where else they can find you.
Oh man, the way social media is these days. I'm
What's
still
your site?
on Twitter,
Yeah, just
Tawny
your.
Fritz.
There you go.
My website, tawnyfritz.com. Facebook, I'm on there. I have a page. Google my name, Tawny Fritz. There's only one.
There is.
I got an invite code to Blue Sky, so if you're on there, come find me.
People are like
Tumblr, I've been posting to Tumblr again.
There you go. Oh, I didn't get mine.
Instagram.
I've seen a lot of people like post to Tumblr again, which is surprising. I never.
I
When I did
used to, and I
Tumblr
gotta
a
slowly
while
get
ago,
back into it. I'm half and
I
half
didn't
on it
find a.
still.
Well, I was gonna say like I didn't find a whole lot of traction when I did Tumblr back in the day. Like
I
it
think
was
you have to
fine.
find 2 to 3 platforms that you vibe with.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like we
And
keep trying
I
to
can't
find like,
find
oh,
what I
which
vibe
one's
with
the next
anymore.
big thing.
Everything's all over the
Yeah.
place now. So it's like, what am I vibing in here?
It's crazy, and that's what I think that's like a lot of artists like, oh, where do I go? What's the next big thing? It doesn't matter what the next big thing is.
I mean,
Nobody was really
I
on like
still like,
like artists weren't really active on Twitter until pretty
right.
recently, like in the last 5 years or so. And I've been on there for a while, and I had a tiny following. I still have a small following, but that's where most of my stuff came from because that's where I vibed. Whereas
Yeah.
Instagram, I had 22,000 followers at one point. And shit from there.
Well, I mean,
So I think
Twitter's
you have to
probably gonna be
find
dead.
the
Twitter's gonna
platforms
be
you
dead
vibe
by
with.
like next week.
Yeah.
The rate it's
Hopefully,
going.
hopefully Blue Sky does okay. So
It
yeah,
seems good.
find like a couple of platforms you vibe with and focus on those. Don't try to be everywhere, man. You can't do everything. You're just
can't.
gonna burn out. It's
It's
maddening.
impossible. Like people setting up like
So
apps that push to like 5 different things. I'm like, stop wasting your time. All right, Andrew, where can we find all your stuff?
that's pointless too.
Oh, okay. asidesart.com.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's literally that and this. This is like the most social I am because you know me on Facebook or whatever. I barely post on there. It's like
Yeah,
when
you do.
I
I
feel
know you
like it,
barely
and
do.
then once in
I
a
barely
blue.
post nowadays. I just
Oh,
kind of
and
post at night.
newsletter.
Yes.
My
newsletter is
sign up for my
key.
newsletter.
Yep.
I don't send it out very often.
We all
But
have
that's where
newsletters.
everything's
Sign
funny.
up.
We all have newsletters. I
Sign up.
need to get better at doing it once a month.
Yeah.
I'm on ancientones.net. You can actually type in AllenPanakal.com. It'll redirect you there too.
Alan, are you on
AllenPanakal art.
TikTok?
No, fuck you, man.
Why you
I'm
gotta
on
bring that up?
AllenPanakal art everywhere on socials except TikTok because this guy's still squatting on my name and hopefully.
I swear that's gotta be like a glitch or something.
They basically told
It's
me
weird.
I have to. So my trademarks will be going through pretty soon, if not have.
So you have
already
to
gone
just
through.
show that you're the trademark for it.
I don't know what they're doing. First, they said show
Well, especially if
copyrights.
after this long, the dude's not even posting anything. Like, bro.
As far as I could tell, he's only got one follower, and the other one was me because I was trying to. I can't message them unless they follow me back.
Right.
And then
And
so I have to prove it's copyrighted and my work's copyrighted, which it is. And then now I'm gonna have to go in there. The problem is like, do I want to spend money on my lawyer to have him contact them to deal with the trademarks? So I said I got to be serious about if I'm gonna do it. Like,
I was gonna say like probably by the time it all goes through, like TikTok's.
Yeah. So
if
I'm not
you're
stressing
even,
it.
and the thing is, like, if you're gonna like, and there's plenty of people that enjoy TikTok, and you might like, I put stuff up there sometimes, so I'm on TikTok too. Just use your own name, dude.
Well, so what I did was
or have a different one.
So I changed my name on my actual TikTok I have. It's under the real AllenPanakal. Like
There you go.
that's what I was told to
and
do.
I have not a similar, but like Instagram won't let me change my name back to Tawny Fritz. I changed it to Fritzinker at one point, and they won't let me change it back.
Really?
Ever?
Nobody has it. Yeah, they're just like that username is unavailable. I'm like,
well, you should also be aware if anyone who's thinking about setting up Threads should be aware if you try to cancel your Threads account that it's linked to your Instagram, so you cancel.
I have no interest in giving Meta even more power in this.
Which I think is like a weird.
And that at all.
I am trying to. I'm kind of hoping that enough people complain that they might switch it, but if they don't, it's just a weird power move. Is all it is. It's like now we got you locked in over here, right?
It's the.
I'm not gonna get into it
for a while.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's gonna be big for a while because there's such an easy sign up, but I don't care.
I mean, it's clean. I think the interface is clean. It's working. It's actually
I just
working as well as Twitter did when it first came out. So far, I've been on Threads for about a week, and I haven't seen any dumb political posts or any dumb, like, let's call it hate speech. You know, I haven't seen any of that. It's all been stuff I actually... Because I think what it's doing is actually, like, I follow a bunch of artists on Instagram, and I follow, like, photographers, and I have a couple friends who are cosplayers and stuff, so I think it's, like, cater that towards him, because that's all he's following.
Yeah.
So
we should have an episode about social media.
We can do an episode about social media once we all like work these out a little bit.
I actually being shown some things that you're not following is good.
To a degree, yes, I agree.
To a degree, yeah.
Okay, and then our guest. Well, I guess
this one,
this episode's.
It's unscheduled.
To
be determined.
Yeah, our guest should be.
I can double check the.
It's Christina Binden.
Well, that's for this one.
It'll be, you know what? No, it's not. It'll be Melissa Sue Stanley. The next episode will be Melissa Sue Stanley. And we'll be talking about her gallery here, actually in Chicago, at Rotofugi. And she already
her little dudes or little statues.
Her little statues and stuff. And then I think she's going to be at, I don't think she's at San Diego with me. She'll be at Dragon Con with us, I believe. And not sure about Gen Con, but we'll see how that works out. She's definitely going to have more sculpts, I think, for Dragon Con. Supposedly. After she said she doesn't want to do anymore. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right, let me take us offline. Give me 1 second. Thanks, everyone who was watching.
Thank you. Sign up for our newsletters.
Sign up for our newsletters. That's how that's better than social media.